Welcome to the Verdin Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. I hope everybody's having a very good Wednesday. Got a good weekend on the way for us. We got LSU and Arkansas, one of your first road games in about a month for LSU. You got the Saints in a primetime spot on Thursday night, and you got a little bit of an emotional storyline attached to that. You got Sean Payton coming back to the Dome. It'll be an interesting game. We got some Brian Kelly notes, Arkansas notes, injury report, minor update. Got some key players to watch from the Arkansas side. And then we'll be doing our Wednesday Heisman watch as we've been all season long. Couple of newcomers to the list, couple of old people still on there. Having to give everybody their flowers is tough. Some guys have been balling, some guys you got to give the benefit of the doubt to, but we're going to be giving the all too early Heisman reaction at the end of the show. First things first, let's get right into these LSU and Arkansas notes. It's been a interesting past week for LSU. A lot of things have changed. I mean, you've gone, quite frankly, from a middle-of-the-pack team to, oh, my God, you got a chance. Like, you could actually potentially make some noise in the SEC. I mean, the beginning of the year obviously didn't go exactly how everybody would have pictured, how everybody would have imagined. But as you've seen in LSU's, more recent seasons, especially under Brian Kelly, you can turn over a new leaf. You could stack days, stack momentum, and just need a couple of good wins to get under your sails. And then, boom, you're hitting your potential by week 5, week 6, week 7. Not ideal, but it's been kind of a recent trend. Arkansas, they're going to be in a little bit of a spot similar to LSU prior to Ole Miss. They're coming off a bye week. Wouldn't say they're healthy. I'd say they're rested, though. I mean, they've got pretty much every advantage you can ask for, right? You got the rest. You've got the preparation. You've got the home field advantage, right? What you don't have, though, is a 100% healthy quarterback. Taylor Green, he's aiming to play. It's probable. He's practiced all week, but like we said, not 100% due to that knee injury that he suffered versus Tennessee in their big win. Couple of notes from the LSU side of things. Nussmeier, right now, this is a crazy stat. Per Michael Bonnet, the stat king of LSU, Garrett Nussmeier has 21 touchdown passes in his first 7 LSU starts. That's more than Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels combined in their first 7 LSU starts. That's a crazy statistic. Don't think a lot of people would have even been able to fish that one out of there. Shout out Mike Bonnet for that. Caden Durham, only college football player with a 70-plus rushing yard play and an 80-plus passing yard play. Got explosivity all over the place on that offensive side. LSU, let's take it over to the defense. Let's give them some flowers. Number 2 in the SEC in sacks, have 21 on the year. Guess what? Last year, LSU didn't hit 21 sacks till week 11 versus Georgia State. Safe to say the defense is a lot more physical, bringing the pain, bringing the pressure, kind of making it difficult for opposing offenses, as we really haven't seen recently. Key notes for Arkansas: they lost to A&M, lost to Oklahoma State. A&M was 21-17, close game. Same thing for Oklahoma State, double overtime, 39-31 finish. Just to give you a quick identity for the Razorbacks, what are we going to look at? What are we kind of going to run into, at least schematically, from them? Well, on the offensive side, they have 25 touchdowns all year. 20 of the 25 come on the ground. Only 5 passing touchdowns. 208 pass attempts from the offense to 247 carries. So the defense is going to have their hands full. It's going to be probably a heavy rushing attack. You can see it from all levels of the offense. You can see the quarterback get active. You can see the halfback, obviously, with his 5.7 yards per carry, get all over you. There's even a couple of wide receivers that they've utilized in the rushing game as well. So you really don't know what to expect here with this offense. A lot of people have credited Sam Pittman for the run he's been on with Arkansas, just kind of what he's done recently. It'll be an interesting matchup, to say the least. We got our guy Connor in the chat. What's going on, man? Hope you're having a good one. Got any questions? Go ahead, fire them away. We'll get to them throughout the stream. I'll bring you the injury report real quick. Like we said, Taylor Green, Arkansas quarterback, probable. I'm going to imagine he's playing. LSU got a couple of wideouts that we've been monitoring. One of them we've been monitoring for the greater part of the season, Chris Hilton Jr. We're still kind of waiting. I mean, Brian Kelly's leaning toward good news, but we've heard positive reports, and then inevitably he's not playing on Saturday, so we're going to continue to monitor that one throughout this week. CJ Daniels, he's been practicing. Apparently he's been looking good. He's probable. If you had to make me guess what one's going to be healthy, I'd say it's CJ, just based on the reports, the kind of comments you've heard around Chris Hilton and his recovery period. It seems to be something that's probably It wasn't initially expected to be as serious as it is. They probably thought he was going to recover a lot faster. And before the Ole Miss game, you hear Brian Kelly talk about how it's kind of a finicky injury, and it's happening. Like, he's doing the right things. It's just tough to come back from. So it's like he's prepping you. It might take a little longer than expected, and I think it could even be one more week. You'd love to have him back out there. I think the minute Chris Hilton gets back into this offensive fold, offense is going to be 10 times better. I mean, you got a lot more attention that you can put on toward this passing diversity, if you will. You don't have to just look to the same guys. And then you confuse the defense a little more. They're playing honest. They can't really double as much. I'm sure they'll try, but they'll be met with a lot more negative results. Moving into a couple more players to watch for Arkansas. I'll give you some statistics from the quarterback, Taylon Green. The biggest one. The biggest thing I can say for their quarterback, what he brings to the table, if you will. The dude's 6'6". 6'6", 230 pounds. He's going to be hard as hell to get down. Very mobile. His passing isn't great, but it could be used. I feel like these numbers are kind of just tough to ignore. 5 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns, so he's almost got in with the legs more than he's gotten in with the arm. He's not going to be 100%. We have to keep that in mind. There's going to be a huge asterisk going into the game. Could be off a little bit of his game, I'd admit. He's had his lowest passing completion percentage in his career this year at 56%. I do want to note, though, his X factor. It's the legs. 4 games over 60 rushing yards. Matter of fact, 3 games over 80 rushing yards. The most rushing yards Taylon's ever put up in a game this year, 96. So you're going to have your hands full because they're running back. The next player I'm going to have you watch, Jaquindon Jackson, number 22. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. Obviously, running game's Arkansas's big focus. If you pair him with this mobile quarterback, 5.7 yards per carry for Jaquindon. Guess what? How about another crazy Arkansas rushing stat? Jaquindon scored every single week this college football season. He's gotten in the end zone every single game. 3 out of the 6 games, he's gotten multiple touchdowns. Those 3 games are pretty much their toughest, games they needed him the most in. Auburn, Oklahoma State, and then obviously their opening game against University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. You still got to open the season strong. This running game has been there. They've been able to lean on it, and I'd expect that they'd have to keep going toward it this Saturday. You're not just going to immediately dish and kind of avoid what's been working. Lastly, Andrew Armstrong, huge target for that offense, right? 6'4". We kind of talked about the mismatch. He's averaging about 5 to 6 catches a game. He's had 3 games over 100 yards, but he has not scored yet. No touchdowns for the big man, despite being their main wide receiver. You've seen Isaiah Sentinga get in there and score, but you really haven't seen other pieces get in and get their due diligence, if you will. I don't think it's not ideal, I wouldn't say, but I haven't seen an SEC offense with someone that big getting that much attention, that much opportunity, that much targets, and he still hasn't scored yet. That's indicative of the offense. And like I said, you're going to see a lot of running on Saturday, at least from the Arkansas side. One more player to watch. We'll move it over to the defense, give you something to watch out for. TJ Metcalf, number 18, their DB, 6'1", 200 pounds, a little lengthy for that side. He's second in team in tackles. He's got 3 picks all season. He'll probably guard Kyron Lacey or CJ Daniels. Why should it worry you? I'm not saying you're going to worry about a Garrett Nussmeier interception. I'm not saying he's bound to throw one, but it's happened, and you've obviously going to have to probably watch. And if anyone's going to grab one out the air against LSU, it'll probably be number 18. So that'd be a key defensive player to watch. Probably the most valuable defensive player Arkansas is going to be able to present to LSU on Saturday. We'll preview the rest of this game at 3:30 on Friday with G. I mean, just to give you a quick reaction, it's close odds. LSU, it's about, 3-point spread. LSU's barely favored. It's pretty much a pick-em spot. I feel like you know what you're getting here. LSU's on the road. They've kind of struggled a little bit on the road against Arkansas in recent memory. It's going to be a colder game. It'll be at night, so I guess the fans could potentially be a lot more engaged and a lot more active there in Fayetteville. I don't know, though. I don't know if they get it done. I'm just not really convinced on this being a huge test for LSU. I mean, yeah, it's in a spot where you just had a big win, and you're going to have to continue to be motivated, continue to be hungry, and continue to be focused despite having the nation pretty much commend you. LSU hasn't been in a spot where people have been clapping and patting them on the back for quite some time. So it's really going to be interesting to see how Brian Kelly gets his guys hemmed in and push them out there on Saturday after getting probably one of the biggest wins they've gotten since they beat Alabama at home in the first year against Brian Kelly. I'll go out and flat out say it. This is one of the biggest moments that LSU's football had, or has had in recent memory. So we're going to have them not do the Alabama, beat UGA, go out to Vandy and get bumped on the head. You're going to have to come up and play your best football Saturday. And it's any given Saturday. Y'all know that. Any SEC team, really, quite frankly, any team in college football, as you saw with Nichols, could give you a run for your money, at least for a little bit. The beginning of the game, we can't have that happen here this week. Real quick, before we move into our final segment, the Heisman Watch, wanted to shout out Happy Dad. You know the drill, low in sugar, no artificial flavors, the best taste and hard seltzer on the market. Gluten-free, you know where to get it at. Albertsons, Rouse's, Walmart. You're getting your groceries, you're going in, stop by the liquor aisle, go grab you a case of Happy Dad, let them know the Verdin Verdict sent you. It's a road game. Everybody's doing their watch parties. Everybody's turning on the TV, trying to see LSU get another SEC conference win. What better thing to wash it down with and celebrate than Happy Dad? You know the drill. We got a link in the description for you. Code Verdin15 at checkout will get you 15% off all your merch, all your orders on happydad.com. Thanks again for them for joining the team, sponsoring us throughout the college football season. And when the college football season's over, they're going to give this nice, pretty, shiny award called the Heisman. Heisman traditionally goes to the best player in college football. It's normally going to quarterbacks and then this and that and the other. But they got a running back that could make his name, his presence felt in college football, as he has for the first half of this year. Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. He's been the talk of just about any sports show. We've talked about him. We've had to continuously, we might as well name the segment after him with the performances that he's been going on. Number 1 in rushing yards, number 1 in touchdowns. He has a bye week this week, so he gets a little bit of rest. Ashton gets to kind of, put it down, get it all loose, because the next game he's got, it's going to be a little bit of a test, and everybody's been wanting to see him get tested. By the way, nobody remembers the game against Oregon in week 2 when he ran for 192 and 3 touchdowns. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody hears Boise State, and they think he's just playing pushover games. Another stat that I need to bring out for Ashton to come to his defense. No fumbles. That's big. Very, very big. 200-plus yards again last week on 31 carries, still average 7 yards per carry. And I got to point out one more thing. If Boise State's going to get slept on because they're kind of an team and they're playing teams, you got to keep in mind, if they're playing teams that are because of the conference level, then that means that the players on Boise State are more than likely at that level. You're playing the teams with players. You're still on their side. I'm not saying that game isn't necessarily easier. All I'm getting at is it's not like an SEC team just smushing people. It's still their level of competition. Boise State still has to have a crack, has to have a shot. If you've got a running back running for 3 touchdowns a game against Oregon, who could potentially in their first year make some noise in the Big Ten, you got to give him his flowers. We're going to give him his flowers. He deserves to be the Heisman favorite. He is right now. I just got a bad feeling about the end of the season. For some reason, I think someone's going to steal this from him, and he could have these performances week in and week out over and over and over and over. There's a couple of names on this list, though, that I think have just a couple of bigger moments. We just talked about Oregon, right? Dylan Gabriel. Got to add him to the mix. He just had a big win over Ohio State. We talked about it with G. Preseason, there was a lot of hype around Dylan Gabriel. For a little bit, he wasn't necessarily living up to it. All he had to do was show up last weekend against Ohio State. He literally could have had horrible weeks over and over and over and over and over. Go beat the Big Ten's, quite frankly, best team to offer at home in front of your fans, and watch the way that the country reacts. Watch the way that your momentum, your stock, everything soars. And Dylan Gabriel's experiencing it. Number 10 in pass yards, number 6 in completions, number 2 in completion percentage. He's got a rushing touchdown every single week except week 1 and week 4. 4 out of 6 weeks this man's gotten in the end zone. 2 passing touchdowns or more every single game. And I think his schedule is kind of going to help him out a little bit. He's only got 2 ranked opponents left as of right now, Illinois and Michigan. I think he's got both of them. All you got to do here is just make some noise in your first year in that conference. There's a lot of teams that have been added to the fold, UCLA, USC, and they've been getting trashed. You get added, and you're flexing muscle, becoming the favorite, pushing people around, sending people back home crying with L's. Oregon could be in a spot where they have another Heisman quarterback. Not trying to overreact too early, but Dylan Gabriel, he's got the platform, he's got the skill set. He's got it in his bag. He could potentially finish this off. There's one more quarterback, though, that I think needs the nod. Cam Ward. He can't fall out of this race yet. Number 2 in yards, number 1 in touchdowns, had a bye week last week. He's got games where he breaks off for 40, 50 rushing yards. That's his biggest draw. His biggest bag that he can bring to the table is the fact that he can break off and get you a first down or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 70. His toughest games left is Florida State. Doesn't have those marquee matchups where everybody's tuning in on their TV left. Here's my last word of advice for Cam Ward, right? If you continue to be mobile and you continue to have that aerial attack, that aerial assault, and you can score in bunches, stay at the top of the passing yards and passing touchdowns rankings, you should be in contention for a Heisman. But the one thing you're going to have to do, Cam, you got to clean up the interceptions. You got to clean up the turnovers, right? Last 3 weeks, he's had at least one every week. It's not to say that it's going to be a trend that continues. All I'm saying is 5 interceptions at this point in the year, it's a little rough, especially when you're averaging 1 per game in your last 3 weeks. You're going to have to clean it up, be a little smarter, no more cross bodies, no more forcing it. Guess what? You've got some of the best, abilities out of most college football players. We just said you could run down the field for 4 or 5 extra first down yardage attempts. Every now and then, tuck it and run. Don't force it. Don't push it down the field when you don't have to. Utilize the skill set that could potentially get you to New York City and holding some hardware when it's all said and done. That's my take on it. Our Heisman Watch segment, it's over with. Ashton Jeanty, Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward. That's the 3 I'm sniffing right now. It could change. You'll have to stick around and find out next Wednesday. We'll be going live again on Friday, 3:30 p.m. Monday and Wednesday at 1. We changed our live on Friday at 3:30 so our guy G Sports can join us. We'll do a full preview. LSU and Arkansas will bring in our top 3 college football games of the week, predict them, try to give you the best locks, try to give you the best picks. You know the drill. Appreciate everybody for joining in on this Wednesday. Hit the like button on the stream on your way out. It means a lot. It's the best thing you could do to support us. Hit the subscribe button if you want more LSU and SEC football news. Brought to you by Happy Dad. This has been the Verdin Verdict. Have a good one. Thank you, Connor, in the chat. I'll get to your comment real quick. I just saw it. My bad. Talking about the edge rushers, linebackers going to have to pressure Green, ranked 87 in sacks allowed, ranked 85 in passing efficiency. Got to keep him contained, make him pass, bring pressure. And this is pretty much the best point LSU has been at to be able to do that, right? You got Swinson, you got Jones, you got the insane freaking Whit Weeks. You got some pieces that you can send at him, that you can try to throw in some concoctions and some mixes, maybe make Green pass. Now the problem, I just think that they rely so heavily on that run that if LSU's defense does get tired, does have a game like South Carolina where they allow 200 plus on the ground, you could be in for a back and forth for a little bit of a tit for tat. Here's my challenge for LSU, and I'm gonna save a lot of this for Friday. But the last little drop I'll give you, Garrett Nussmeier and this LSU offense have to be really calculated, really cerebral, if you will, with these drives, with their time of possession, with how long they give the defense to rest. You cannot turn the ball over to this squad and have Arkansas run down the field, exhaust everybody, drain the battery, if you will, score. Then Nussmeier gets the ball back, potentially a 3-and-out, potentially this, that, the third, who knows. You got to keep the ball on the ground, at least for LSU, for a little bit. You got to try to bleed the clock. I mean, if the pass is there, I'm not saying avoid it. I'm not saying don't get the chunk plays, the explosive plays, don't score real quick. Obviously, take 6 when you can get 6. Hell, sometimes take 3. But I think this game, if you're playing a really, really strong Russian team, it's in your best interest to probably keep that ball on your offensive side just so your defense can get more gas, more juice. That's my philosophy. Could be wrong. Who knows? We'll talk to G Sports a little bit more about it. Friday at 3:30. Once again, y'all have a good one. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Thanks for watching.